Our counselors here. Let's call this meeting to order. City of Walton Council meeting for September 14th here at the Walton Senior Center. If everyone would, please stand for the invocation and pledge the flag. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day on this earth, breath in our lungs, and love in our hearts. Lord, we ask that you guide us, give us wisdom, allow us to make the best decisions for our constituents. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tammy, if I could I please get a roll call?
Howard Stevens.
Here.
Bobby McDonald.
Here.
Terry Courtney.
Here.
Sherry Snowden.
Here.
Dan Martin.
Here.
Matt Brown.
Here.
Okay. A few quick announcements. There will be a caucus meeting October 5th here at the Senior Center. City Hall will be closed October 11th, 2021, in observance of Columbus Day. There will be an events planning meeting at 6:15, followed by a council meeting at 7 on October 12th here at the Senior Center. If I could I please get an approval of the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Okay, and if I could I please get an approval of the minutes for?
We're gonna have them vote on the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You typically do.
Yes, that would be great.
Howard.
Yes.
Bobby.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Got me into reading mode. And if I could I please get an approval of the previous minutes for the council meeting on August 10th, 2021?
Motion.
Second.
Howard.
Yes.
Bobby.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, first item of business. Actually, something to mark here? Yeah, it's at the bottom here. Chief Vest, do you have anything for us?
I've already handed out the fire department's report for the runs, and the breakdown of runs throughout the district for the month of August. During the month of August, the fire department responded to a total of 188 fire and EMS responses. Of those, 84 was within the city limits itself. We responded to a total of 3 overdose calls and 17 motor vehicle crashes. August, pretty busy month. Anybody have any questions for me? Everybody?
Questions for Chief?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Is anybody here from the sheriff's department? Let's see, we have a report. Okay.
He emailed that.
Ah, I got you. Thank you, Jamie. City engineer, Matt Bogan.
So fairly short report, but on the High Street project, we finally had some progress with the railroad. We got the construction easement, or the construction agreement signed in return. I passed that on to Dunn Robin Associates so they can finalize everything with the easement acquisition process and get the right-of-way official order from the state. That's the last step that we need to turn in all of our bid documents and get them approved so we can advertise this and put it out to bid. On the 2021 road projects, the resurfacing work that we bid out is completed except for the resurfacing on Locust. We're holding off on that until the water main work is complete. And then there were a couple other projects that were brought up last month or so. One is on Service Road between Mary Groves and Chestnut Street. It's just, there's some rust forming in the asphalt just from the heavy traffic there, the trucks. And to resurface that block, under the bid prices that we've got, would be $19,500. That is the change order. And then Councilman Stevens brought up the doing some resurfacing and widening on Service Road, starting where we finished last year with the resurfacing and heading back to where the Bobcat dealership is going in, just because the pavement's in a little bit worse condition where we haven't gotten to it yet, and also past the St. E's office at narrows down to about 13 feet wide. So with the increase in traffic that dealership's going to be getting when it's open, it might not be a bad idea to look into doing some improvements on it.
Matt, if I may, I do believe that the Burling group, Burlings and Winstrup, are planning on widening and resurfacing that road as part of putting in the Bobcat.
Okay, great.
Yeah, when they came here to get it rezoned, that was part of the discussion.
Okay, good. All right. And then on the Owens property, Hunter's Concrete was out there doing work on patching the spillway. They're going to take 3 sections that were the widest cracks that were where the water was going through the bottom of the spillway. Unfortunately, there weren't really any big voids underneath it. They didn't have to bring in any global fill and do a lot of patching. They pretty much just compacted the soil down there and just cut it into new bottom to it. So we can go ahead proceed with working on doing the lake dredging. Councilman Brown found a contractor that had done some work for the city of Williamstown and brought him up here to take a look at it. I talked to him on the phone earlier today. He didn't have prices handy just yet. I mean, the biggest unknown in pricing it out is where to put the material that we dredge out of there. So if we can store it all on site, we save a lot of hauling. Otherwise, figure we probably put some back here in the parking lot there, or up in the community park in the dump area up there. So going by the prices that he said he used for Williamstown back a few years ago, that would be around the ballpark of 55 to 65,000 for the volumes that we calculated. So I can go ahead and get the bid documents put together on that and advertise it. See, obviously let
Matt, with his dredging, is that going to require a lowering of the lake water level?
Yeah, we wouldn't have to drain the entire thing. Probably, diagram over there. I think if we take it down, probably about 10 feet, that should, open up the area that we wanted to extend the channel on.
Okay. I was just confused. Matt sent me some guy that rode around on a boat with doing some dredging.
I haven't sent it to him yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was.
He hasn't seen it.
I was confused on which person Matt had talked to.
This
So
is the different one.
okay.
Any other questions?
I know we talked about what we're getting ready to talk about, speed limit in town center. Seeing it now, 5 miles an hour, so it seems like a major difference. Would that area be horrible at 30? Considering what some, most of our other city streets, except for our, like, residential. Because I know in Kentucky, like, business districts and stuff, unless posted are 35.
I don't think it's,
Just doesn't seem like that big of a difference, to raise it 5 miles an hour. Because most people are going well above 25.
I guess it's more about,
I mean, it's also safer.
establishing the mindset that people are expecting to see traffic go faster rather than have it be at, set at 20 and everybody,
Yeah, most of the wrong, obviously from the light to the stop sign, you're not gonna get it even 20 miles an hour. But the only place you're gonna get that is on the back stretch and on one strip.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it comes down to enforcement.
I guess safety is
How-
also a thing. I mean, there's probably a formula for how much riskier it is to get hit at 25 versus 30 years.
Probably nothing.
Okay.
Familiar with off the top of my head. Yeah, I think the main thing, 20 versus 25 versus 30, when people are going well in excess of that is, preparing the drivers that maybe aren't familiar with the speeding problem. If they come into there, if they see that it's 30, they're going to be, mentally prepared, seeing people going faster rather than if it's 20. And the people that are familiar with it are going well over that. But somebody who's, new to the area might come in, is going slow, might not be watching for somebody to speed. That makes sense.
Sheriff's Department have anything for us?
Sure.
How are you today, sir?
All right, how's everybody today? Does everybody have a copy of the report?
We do.
Okay. First off, I apologize for Major Mark not being here. He has something on at the last minute. He was not able to attend, so he asked me to fill in his spot. And I apologize for my tardiness, as of course that would happen. It has to be some chaos on the roads, it never fails. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Hall. I'm a lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department. I work Second Shift Patrol. I am an assistant patrol commander, Major Mark, so I have been here before for those of you who don't know me. So he provided me the report. I'll read off the numbers. You guys are welcome to ask me any questions. I can answer them as best I can for you. Okay? This is like for the month of August. We have a total of 911 hang-up or misdial calls. We had 34 either residential or commercial burglar alarms. 4 attempt to locate calls, 3 animal complaints, 23 traffic collisions, accidents. I do not have a breakdown, but I'm sure if the numbers would show, it's probably Flying J and Walt would be the majority of those. We had 0 burglary calls, 30 business checks, which are specific to relegated specific businesses, 14 civil and criminal service papers, 6 criminal mischief calls, 8 domestic, those would either be physical and or verbal. 10 either drunk or intoxicated subject calls. 7 emotional crisis. 1 juvenile trouble. 5 motorist assist or disabled vehicle calls. 0 overdose. 12 requests for information. 428, we call them spot checks, those are just general extra patrol checks of various places. 31 suspicious activity calls, a total of 5 theft reports were taken, 18 various traffic complaints or areas, 43 total traffic stops, 9 individual vacation checks, 18 vehicle complaints, 13 vehicle lockouts, 3 wanted-person calls, and with various enforcement, we had 20 issued citations, resulting in 16 total arrests, bringing the total events for the month at 948. Any questions?
Do you guys feel that, I mean, we've had the rash of, the vehicle issues. It seems like that's died down a little bit as far as, just observing on Facebook. Are you guys seeing the same thing? Are you seeing any progress or?
So what we can tell you is that there seems to be a rash of juveniles coming from across the river that seem to be hitting in different areas. They are very organized. They do hit in various strategic areas. I will say, knock on wood, it has been quiet. We did have a period of a couple of weeks where it seemed quiet and it kind of hit again. What I would recommend to the public, what we have found is every one of these, people are leaving their keys in the car, leaving them in the ignition, they're leaving valuables, specifically firearms, in their unlocked vehicles. I can't recall a single of these cases where there's been a broken window. They literally will go down your street from the video we've been able to see, and they literally just pull door handles. They don't go from driveway to driveway to driveway. The same with other vehicle break-ins. They literally just pulling handles. And again, people are leaving them key fobs, keys. We would recommend do not do that. Don't make it a crime of opportunity for them. So, but for now, it seems to be quiet. It has died down. I can't recall in the last few weeks of us having really any major incidents with that. Okay, thank you. If you guys have anything, just let me know. Thank you.
Lieutenant Hall, real quick,
Yes.
no, it's not a question. I just want to tell you what a fantastic job your sheriff's deputies did at Old Fashioned Day.
Yes, I will.
So we appreciate it greatly. They were very helpful and they were very spot on.
I will pass the message along. I was disappointed. It was the only second in my 20-year career. It was only the second one I ever had to miss. Unfortunately, I was on an anniversary. Not unfortunately, I shouldn't say that. I was on an anniversary trip with my wife, late 20th anniversary trip, so she scheduled it. So it was literally the only second old-fashioned day I've ever missed. So I was raving about what a fantastic event it is and how many people come out and who it is, and just I'm sure post-COVID how everybody probably had a great time. So
Our biggest parade ever.
that's fantastic.
Unfortunately, we had to deal with micros, but
No comment. What's that? No, I'm glad to hear it. So, but I will certainly pass it along to the officers themselves. So I know we had several deputies down here that were on patrol, and like Honor Guard was involved in everything. So glad we can participate as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Gonna go to citizens now.
Citizens' comments. Sure. Sure.
My name's Bob Schroeder. I live at the end of Simbo Lane, which is not within the city limits. Simbo is off Green Road, it's about 2.5 miles away. And basically, I'm here to complain about the loud noises coming from what I think, what I've been told is a Zoe phone.
Yes, sir.
I tried to call them, and I didn't get an answer back. I filed 2. On their email, they have a customer service email account. I sent 2 notices to them, not notices, but just asking them, to call me about the noise. I'm not opposed to industry, I'm not opposed to noise, but this stuff it's like an explosion. And it happens often, it happens after midnight. I know one night it woke me up around 12:15, and another night it woke me up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yes, sir.
And I know it happens other times too. I'm not home all the time, I don't keep track of it. But when I get woken or whatever the word is at night, it's, it's more of a bother. I live 2.5 miles away, and I don't know what it's like for people that live closer. And I talked to the city clerk, asked her if y'all been getting any complaints, and I was told, well, I don't know if it was near the city clerk, somebody here. And they said that there've been a lot of complaints, and the mayor, we've been trying to work on it, and not getting anywhere, I guess.
We're getting somewhere, sir. I don't mean to interrupt you, but continue.
That's all right. I mean, I would just like to see something done. I heard somewhere, not from the city here, but I heard that there's a problem with getting a part. And I understand that, there's a shortage of materials in all kinds of different industries, cars down at Kentucky Speedway, 10,000 trucks from what I heard. There's a lot of issues with that, but they could do something like, and I don't know, because I'm not in that business, I don't know, but they could do something that seems to me to muffle that sound or make it not happen after certain hours or before certain hours in the morning. It's totally unreasonable. It's not just loud, it's atrociously loud. It sounded to me, when I first heard it, I thought a plane crashed over my house, right next to my house or whatever. That's how loud it is. It's unbelievably loud. I'm sure y'all have heard it, but it's ridiculously, terribly loud. I'm sure there's city ordinances against loud noises like this that are violating that. I just wish they'd fix it. They can build a wall around it if it's got to be 30 feet high. Do something. Just stop it. So that's what I'm here for, to complain about it. And if they would have called me back, I would have talked to them, but they didn't call me back. I left a message. I called the business, and the lady that answered the phone said, would you like to speak to somebody about it, the president? I said, yeah, I left a message, and he didn't call me back, so that's why I'm here. Can't get any results in.
I'm holding up a piece of cardboard, but I will give you this. I don't have a business card on me, but this is the president's direct line. I wrote it down so I could type it onto my phone one day. I pulled it out of my tool bag at work today and stuck it in my back pocket. But
I can just write it down here.
sure. You can read all right.
Maine, and is this a cell?
That's it, direct to his office.
Let me write it down and get it.
Sure.
If you, what,
So they are working on it. It's, as it was explained, Chief, you might be able to help me out here. Chief says it a little better than I do. But we have had discussions with them. We have started a code enforcement process with them. They've been very forthcoming about it. It's more of, it's not so much a part that you would get from Home Depot or, something of that. It's got to be designed, engineered, and built. Chief, you want to help me out here?
Sure. On July 7th, unfortunately, there was an incident early morning where it's called a vent silencer. And it was a very, very large metal container that had a vent pipe in it, okay? And for simpler clarification, it's like a muffler, okay? And all it done was it absorbed the vent gases during a process of their manufacturing. Once the pressure got to be so high, then the vent gases would release and it would go into this container and it muffled the noise, all right? And it was a noise reducer. Well, in the morning of the 7th of July, something within that failed, and it failed badly. And this vent pipe, if you will, it got launched what is estimated to be approximately 150 feet up in the air. and it come back down through the roof of the building. So thankfully, no one was hurt, killed, anything like that. But that being said, I can tell you, I was there that morning on the scene of the incident, obviously, because we got a call for a large explosion. But before we had left the scene that morning, they had already started working on trying to get the problem resolved. They had already called in a team of engineers to start looking to try to figure out what the problem was, you know, where the failure was. So they immediately started working on it. Now, the loud noise, which, you know, obviously it's frustrating to you and many others, and it's totally understandable, you know, understandable wholeheartedly. It's, you know, frustrating, but it's an aggravation more than anything. But, you know, I've received calls from citizens of concern that it was repeated explosions and so on and so forth. And it's not. All it is just the nitrogen gas, which is an inert gas. It's venting out, and that's what that noise is, because it does not have that muffler. Well, I've met with them, and because this is under such high pressure, it's under 10,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Well, if they do something, for lack of better terms, I'll say to Band-Aid it and just try to quiet it down, what they are essentially doing is they're putting a lot of residents throughout the community in danger, because it is a potential catastrophic incident waiting to happen. And the approach they're taking is, this thing failed, and it failed once, and fortunately nobody's hurt or killed. They don't want to just duplicate what they had, knowing that it's probably likely to fail again, because it's only been in place for a few years. What they've done is they've got teams of engineers and designers that are looking into where the failure was and what the cause of it was, and then the designers to custom make something that will be better than what they originally had, so that no one is at risk of that failure occurring again. So, that being said, is it taking a little bit longer? Absolutely. Especially in the days of COVID and, you know, staffing shortages of places and whatnot. But even though there's the loud noise and the aggravation with the noise and the frustration that goes along with it, if they do something to try to squash that noise or squelch that noise, they're creating a potential safety hazard there, because they're trying to contain that pressure, in essence, if something fails, then instead of, fortunately, where it had went up in the air before, if it was to go outward, it could be catastrophic in nature.
I understand that, I don't understand the engineering part of whatever, you know, but I understand that it could be dangerous, but in my opinion, if I can hear it as loud as I do 2.5 miles away, I would think that that would be a danger to everybody within a mile, danger to the hearing, everybody that works there. It's so loud, I mean, I'm sure you've heard it.
I know. We hear it at the fire station even. And I've been there, I've met with them. They've showed me letters from the state. They've showed me letters from OSHA, where OSHA has done sound tests and the decibels and all that, and it's within the permitted limits. Which surprised me.
That's what they say, I believe, but it's hard to believe, you know.
I know. And
it's so loud.
One day I was there in their building when the noise went off. And it's much louder at the fire station than it was there on their property.
Well, they probably there's a wall between it or something. This thing, this big tank that exploded, or, well, exploded, I mean, is it outside? Could they put a temporary wall around it? They could build a wall, and if they're worried about things flying away, build it 10 feet away or whatever, 20 feet high, just muffle the sound somehow, but they're not.
And that I don't know. I know that they're working with engineers and designers, and I'm not knowledgeable in that, area at all.
How many employees
I just
work
know that
there?
I've met with them and I understand the mechanics
Is it
of,
hundreds?
how, the muffler works itself, and with them containing it with all the insulation in it.
Sorry.
Because the more that we actually see on security camera footage, the actual failure when it happened, and the explosion.
Mike, I think it's,
It was an unbelievable
somewhere
sight,
around
you know,
100.
all the insulation.
I don't have an exact number.
They probably can't shut down and put all them out of business.
Something got my
That'll work.
attention.
We've discussed, or people on council, the council members have discussed, and Mr. Duncan, you can, I know Gabe had mentioned, our noise ordinance may not, is it tailored exactly to this situation to where
No, I think it would need some revising to address
that's one of the
this
problems that we're
situation.
having? We write an ordinance for, barking dogs, loud cars, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't cover this situation, so our enforcement arm is kind of limited in that. And then I'm sure, shutting the place down has been discussed, we're asking them to change their hours. But according to them, even if they don't have an evening shift, that, it's still gonna go off. And I doubt, we probably don't have the authority to tell them, shut your business down until you get it fixed.
No.
So,
I'd hate to
We're-
see them
we're-
shut
yeah,
down,
we're kind of-
you know, I don't-
we're limited on what we're allowed to do, unfortunately.
Well, could you pass an ordinance tonight or next meeting that sets a certain decibel level that they cannot exceed? Because this is totally unreasonable, worse than a barking dog. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we
it's an
we can amend our existing ordinances to kind of, if this situation ever happens again, then we would be able to do
I
something.
mean, well, I'm not talking about the explosion on July the 7th, but the explosions that happen as often as they do now. You can pass an ordinance and then every time after that, they're in violation. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a resident of the city, but as a interested party.
No, we discussed that at our last caucus meeting, was to amend our noise ordinance to cover this. That happens all the time, certainly, and we'll run into a problem and we're not able to enforce that, so we'll amend our ordinances and language to be able to do that.
It just seems, 2 months is a long time, and I know the shortages, I understand that, but this is not a mild problem. This is, in my opinion, living 2.5 miles away, it's a major problem. And if I lived a half a mile away, I've talked to other people that live off of Jones Road, and they said it's terrible. I can read the text, but that doesn't matter a whole lot. I'm sure you've heard it, you've all heard it. But this is more than just, it's a loud noise and it's annoying or aggravating. This is bad. And it's something that, in my opinion, if they would have called me back last week, I would think maybe they have a good attitude and they're trying harder. But, and I'm just one person that complains, but they need to do something. And, I'm not happy about hearing it, when I do hear it at my house. I'm sure that thousands of people are upset about it.
I cannot tell you why you did not get a call back. Honestly, it surprises me
Well,
that
that's
you
not your
did.
fault. I'm not complaining.
No, I
about
just
that.
mean, they've been very open, forthcoming with me. I've had meetings and open communications with them, ever since the incident happened.
Yeah.
I know the mayor has. I know that in conversations with the president, he's told me, because I've had conversations with him and told him, I've had concerned citizens come to the firehouse, call the firehouse. I've been to concerned citizens' homes, you know, the residences, because, you know, they was worried that, you know, it was explosions, you know, that was occurring and whatnot. I went, tried to calm their fears, you know, reassure them that, you know, it is a loud noise, but it's nothing to fear, you know, as far as safety goes. So, you know, he's told me, you know, if anybody comes, if they want to talk to me or, you know, whatnot, please direct them to me. So he welcomes hearing from the citizens. He wants to explain. And I do sincerely believe that they are doing everything that they can as quickly as they can to get it resolved.
Has anybody at that company ever, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing me complain, but has anybody given anybody any sort of a realistic timeline on any completion or?
Well, I think it started off with 30 days.
Well, it's been
Is what
2
I was
months now,
told,
according
so.
to-
Well, I met with the president of the company earlier today, and he told me that the company he was trying to get in there,
We're
company
inside
he's
the building.
trying to get in there, he's having some problems with,
That's it.
and they are trying to
First
get
time I've heard
another company in there now
And
to
time.
take a look and see what they can do short term to try to at least somewhat mitigate the problem till the long-term fix is done, but make sure that it's done in a safe manner, just the same. And hopefully in the upcoming days, you know, they'll be able to provide some kind of timeline. But he told me, he said, to be honest, right now today, I can't give you any timeline for sure. But, you know, he's made it clear to me, and since day one, he's like, I'm sparing no expense to try to fix this as quickly as I can. He said, I'm just trying to get people in here that know how to fix it. And it's difficult to get them in here.
Well, I appreciate it, appreciate the time. I would request, and I'm not a citizen, so I can't really complain a whole lot, but I would request you pass an ordinance and enforce it and make them do something, because if my house is worse than what I just heard here, I don't know if it's because it goes up a valley or whatever, and there's enough buildings between, but it's worse in my house than it is here. And that's literally, as the crow flies, 2.5 miles. It's loud. But anyway, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. I'll contact the company again and keep after them, see what, you know, I've got enough time, but I'm just gonna keep complaining to them because it's totally unreasonable to hear an explosion every day or when power when it happens. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I emailed that to you as well.
Okay. Any other citizens?
Okay. No citizen comments? Girls? No? Sir?
Do we have any updates on the sidewalk on the Woodward Court? I know there's someone out there measuring it, a concrete company?
Yeah, we had the contractor come up, look at it, we got support for it, and then see that,
Okay, cool. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. No comments, no other comments. Let's move on to the business section here. Excuse me. We have ordinance 2021-08. It's a second reading. An ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Walton. Counselor?
Mayor, you just read the title, and by explanation and further summary, periodically the law requires us to update our Code of Ordinances to include ordinances in there that we have adopted since the previous update. It's been a few years since the previous update. American Legal Services has provided that service, and you can adopt this this supplement by motion.
Motion.
Second.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is ordinance number 2021-09, a second reading. An ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky annexing a portion of a parcel of real estate currently owned by Ronald R. and Brenda A. Tackett, located along the adjoining current south boundary of the city and located at and known as part of 13173 Dixie Highway, all as more particularly described and illustrated in the exhibits to this ordinance. Counselor?
And Mayor, that is the title to the ordinance, and by further summary, this ordinance, if adopted, would annex a portion of the Tackett property to be combined with a property that's already in the city and as proposed for development in the city. And you can adopt this ordinance by motion.
Motion. Second.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Terry,
No.
Sherry,
No.
Dan,
No.
No.
Matt.
Okay.
Mayor. Or I guess, is that?
4-2. you know,
Okay,
get the vote.
sorry. All right, he usually does. Sorry about that. All right.
Next is ordinance 2021-10, first reading. An ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky establishing regulations for the operation of short-term rentals within the city. Counselor?
Again, Mayor, you're doing half my job by reading the title.
There we go.
But by summary, this is an ordinance proposed by Councilmember McDonald to allow short-term rentals. It has a lot of definitions of dwelling units, the host, defining the owner-occupied property and property where it's non-hosted, defines a short-term rental, describes the rules and regulations for the short-term rental. And as you typically do, not required by law, but you typically do take a vote on first reading to see if it should go forward. So you can do that by motion.
Motion.
Second.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay. Next would be first reading ordinance 2021-11. An ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky amending section 71.05 of the Walton Code of Ordinances in order to revise the speed limit to 25 miles per hour on Town Center Drive for its entire length.
And then by further summary, we have an ordinance that says all of the city streets have a speed limit of 20 miles per hour unless otherwise designated. You have designated other streets prior to this. This would change the speed limit on Town Center Drive from 20 to 25. And again, you can take a vote on this if you like.
Motion. Second.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yep.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
No.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have ordinance 2021-12, first reading. An ordinance adopting the Boone County and Kenton County assessments for all real and personal property within the taxing jurisdiction of the city of Walton and providing for the payment of ad valorem taxes of the city.
Mayor, this is Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance that the same wording is offered each year and has, as far as I can tell, been adopted word for word for the last number of years. It has been included in the Code of Ordinances. The law requires all property to be assessed at its fair market value, and then the tax rates are required to be adopted each year. I found no requirement that we have to adopt this ordinance every year. You have done it every year. You can do it again if you like. I've had some questions raised recently by a council member, and I looked into it, and I don't know why you've been adopting it every year. If you want to do it again, you can,
So we can just remove it from the agenda?
if you want to.
Motion to remove the
Second.
ordinance?
Now, let me add, if you do remove from the list and don't adopt it, we will default to the ordinance that is codified in our Code of Ordinances, and we'll be using the Boone and Kenton County tax assessment anyway, whether you adopt this ordinance or not. So I would interpret the motion that
Yeah,
was just
motion.
made and second as a table, so we'd be tabling this ordinance.
Which is the same as us all voting yes. It's going to happen regardless, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the law would allow for you to hire your own assessor. You have to give 6 months' notice to the state finance department and the county PVAs. You would then have to hire an assessor who's qualified to assess property. You'd have to create a tax appeals board. This is something that small cities don't do. I think there's a nominal charge that the PVAs charge the city to do the assessments. I would not recommend that you hire your own assessor. I don't really think that's practical. It's just I think there's some discontent with the rising values that have been proposed to the city. So,
So do we need to take a vote?
yeah,
for that? Okay.
vote on the motion to table.
Howard,
No.
Did you say no?
Bobby,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next is Resolution 2021-10, resolution of the City of Walton. Did I fix? Oh, so much taxes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Tammy. Ordinance number 2021-13, I stand corrected, first reading. An ordinance fixing the tax levies of the City of Walton upon real property and tangible personal property, subject to ad valorem taxation by the city for the year 2021, and upon motor vehicles and watercraft, subject to ad valorem taxation by the city for the year 2022. Counselor.
Mayor and council, as I had just indicated, the law does require you to adopt tax rates each year based upon the valuation, and there's a calculation that's done to create what's called the compensating tax rate, which is the rate which applied to all of the property in the city except real property, except new property, that would generate about the same amount of money as the prior year. That's the compensating tax rate. That is what is being proposed. It's 0.96 cents on $0.96, which is 9.6 cents on each $100 for real property, and 14.6 cents for each $100 evaluation of personal property. That actually is lowering the tax rates on both of those categories, slightly for the real property and substantially for the personal property. But if you multiply that times the valuation and add the new property in, which we did have substantial amount of new property, that will fund your budget. So the good news is the tax rates are lowered if you adopt this rate. And again, if you want to vote on first reading, you can do that.
Motion.
Second.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Lastly is Resolution 2021-10, resolution of the City of Walton and Boone County and Kenton County, Kentucky, authorizing the execution of the interlocal cooperation agreement with Kenton County Fiscal Court for collection of the city's TIF job assessment fees. Councilor?
And Mayor and Council, I sent out a memo on this because this is different than what you're usually accustomed to doing. We don't have a regular payroll tax for all the workers in the city. However, back in 2016, there was an ordinance and a development agreement with Omaha Enterprises creating a TIF district. And part of the TIF district is the people who work in that district pay a 1.2% what's called a job assessment fee, which is a payroll tax. We are not equipped here to collect a payroll tax. The counties both have payroll taxes, both Boone and Kenton, and they do have a department that collects payroll taxes. The finished buildings in the Omaha Enterprises development over there are in Kenton County. Kenton County has agreed to collect the payroll taxes for a minor fee, and they have proposed I should say we worked out an agreement with the county attorney, and the Kenton Fiscal Court has adopted it. And now what this would do, if you adopt this resolution, would authorize the mayor to sign an interlocal agreement that would allow the county to collect those fees and then pay the money back over to the city. That money gets held in a special fund and then distributed according to the documents of the TIF district. So I would encourage you to adopt this resolution by motion.
Motion.
Howard,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yep.
Terry,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Council comments? Councilman Stevens?
I just want to say thank you for everybody for your help planning and carrying out of the Fashion Day. I think it was a pretty good success.
Councilman McDonald?
Nope.
Councilwoman Courtney?
Seconding what Howie stated, I appreciate Giovanna and Tammy and all their hard work. You guys were key to making it happen, for all those who volunteered. And I'm excited to see the Girl Scouts here tonight, so thank you for attending. Is this your first council meeting? Yes. Were you surprised by it? Did you find it interesting?
You ain't got a lie.
An honest person who can never be a council member.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for bringing it.
Okay. Councilwoman Snowden?
I'm good.
Got nothing?
Councilman Martin? Councilman Brown?
Thanks, ladies, for Old Fashioned Day, dealing with all the madness. And obviously the guys too, but they're not here, so. Good job in the Duncan booth game.
What was that?
He was in the Duncan booth.
Yeah, I don't know about if by being a whipping boy is anything. I guess I did a good job in the donkey booth because that was.
I don't think anybody videoed it.
Oh, there's few videos out there for sure.
I
But
heard former Councilman Wainwright had a pretty good run on you.
Oh.
Look at
for the record, Councilman Wainwright, former Councilman Wainwright, paid $100 for 60 balls. The man who claims that he was in the Little League World Series, and out of 60, he dunked me about 8 times. So, yeah, he had his fun, but it wasn't like he was hot to trot with his accuracy there. So,
Sounded like his arm got tired.
for the sake of our country, I hope he shot a lot better in the Marine Corps than he threw baseballs at me. So,
I'm sure he did.
thank you to everyone involved with Old Fashioned Day, the planning, the effort that went into it, and the execution, ladies, for being here all day, the guys that stayed late, the guys that got here early, council members that, helped with the parade, Terry, some of the most fantastic pictures I've ever seen from an old-fashioned day, really impressed with those, so thank you for your help on old-fashioned day as well. So, really proud of how that went down. It was certainly an exciting old-fashioned day. So, with that, I have nothing further.
Motion to adjourn.
So can I say one thing before we?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I spoke to the mayor prior to coming over here tonight, and if I just wanted to say real quickly before the meeting's over, I will be resigning in 2 weeks, and I just want to say to all of you, it's been a pleasure to work with you, get to know you, and some of you out there, and I'll do my best over the next 2 weeks to wrap up things in the office to make sure everything's good to go. So, thank you for everything.
Now, I assume we're gonna have some special meetings, or we're gonna have like nobody in City Hall?
Yes, we will have some
Okay.
special meetings.
Well, with that, if I could just say,
I don't
Tammy,
wanna test you
you
on that hard. Maybe you can run the whole thing.
served the city well, and you appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry.
You'll be missed.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's a motion on the table.
I have a second.
Doesn't make
You'll be
sense.
missed, Tammy.
Thank you, Matt.
We're going to vote against it. Sorry.
Second.
All those in favor?
Who motioned? You motioned,
And
right?
Terry, I think, was second.
Howie did.
Howard. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oh.
No.
Bobby's
Howie
the
voted
no.
no.
Meeting adjourned.
Everybody have a good evening. Ladies, come again, please. We'll be more entertaining next time.